would have listened about the concept of initiation, and I am actually moving forward from initiation to intensification. I am going to share with you based on case किया है इस program पहले नहीं कर सकते थे. Although it's a basal insulin symposium, I am going to discuss based on some cases, real world cases. And this is a 52-year-old diabetes of 6-year duration, BMI 32. You see fasting plasma glucose of 170, HbA1c was initially 8%, gradually increased to 8.7. Patient has also been tried on GLP-1RA, but has stopped because he was not able to tolerate GLP-1RA because of GI side effects. What are the medications? Patient is currently on metformin 1000 and ribifed mg twice a day, sitagliptin 100 mg OD, dapagliflozin 10 mg OD, started on Glargine, and the current dose is 10 minutes, which actually, if you see literature, if your insulin, if the physician is insulin naive, physician is insulin naive means physician does not have experience how to start insulin. Basic prima facie is that we should not harm our patients. So there insulin in a patient who is obese, who is a high plasma glucose, we can start straight away with 0.4 to 0.5 units per kg body weight. So it all depends on individualization is the key. Now this is our own publication and evidence-based recommendation for insulin intensification after basal insulin in type 2 diabetes. And we have discussed a lot of things in detail in this publication, and I am going to use my publication for this case-based approach. Now we have shown if patient is on basal insulin and the HbA1c is not controlled, what are the means? We can go only by basal only, which means we can up-titrate the dosage of basal insulin therapy. This patient is receiving only 10 units, which is very small dose. Fasting is not controlled, but this can be done only if HbA1c is above target and fasting plasma is high, and the difference between fasting and postprandial is not more than 60 mg per deciliter. Then only the concept of fixed fasting first and then think about postprandial comes into picture. Another scenario is that patient HbA1c is above target, but fasting plasma glucose has now come into the target range. Still your HbA1c is not achieved. Now how we can achieve this? We can do this by using basal plus approach. What is basal plus? You continue with basal insulin, and with the largest meal of the day, you add a prandial component of the insulin. This is basal plus approach. And the third is, when you are both fasting and postprandial are not target and HbA1c is also high, you have either basal bolus approach or you have premix approach or co-formulation. So there are a number of ways of doing intensification if your patient is not at target after initiating basal insulin therapy. So moving forward, there are two important questions in this case. What should be the ideal HbA1c goal? And next, how to titrate Glargine. Now, gone are the days when it is advocated less than 7% for each and every individual suffering from type 2 diabetes. We have learned in past from number of trials, PNDT, Accord, ADOPT and other trials, that if an individual is elderly, if the individual is having pre-existing cardiovascular disease, CKD, if the patient has other comorbid conditions, cannot take care of himself, if there is a risk of hypoglycemia, so many things, then probably keeping an HbA1c target between 7 to 8.5 is pretty okay. Suppose you are seeing a patient at 85 years of age, what is the life expectancy? Even if we try to keep at less than 7%, is it going to be fruitful in long term? Nobody knows. And we are putting this elderly gentleman to the risk of hypoglycemia, which is much higher as compared to the risk of hyperglycemia. Hyperglycemia kills in long term. Hypoglycemia kills immediately. So therefore, we have to individualize HbA1c goal. Now if we see the patient, which I have shown you, is a young patient, does not have underlying cardiac disease, small duration of diabetes, Therefore, it makes a case that we should try to achieve HbA1c of less than 7% because he has to pretty live for 20-30 years. So long time to develop diabetic related complications. Another is how to titrate, which we have already discussed, that based on 3 days glucose profile, take an average of it and then increase or decrease the dose of glargine by 10 to 20% with the aim to maintain your fasting plasma glucose between 90 to 130 milligrams per deciliter. So this is how we should up titrate the basal insulin dose. Now apart from that, whenever we initiate insulin, there are many practical aspects of usage of insulin. Now this is again our own publication, practical aspects of usage of insulin in India. Now this is a detailed publication where people who are traveling, how to use insulin when you are traveling, you are going to different time zones, how to store, everything has been discussed. Again, if you are interested, you can see into this paper where beautifully everything regarding practical aspect of insulin usage has been described. Now why I am showing you this paper? Because when we initiate and when we titrate, intensify the insulin, we have to also check whether the patient is injecting insulin properly or not, whether he is rotating the site or not. If patient is not doing so, the lipodystrophy is going to be developed, which is going to be discussed in a lecture, and which again changes the way the insulin is going to act in your body. How patient is storing the insulin. We have to give actually some time, either we have to give or our staff has to be educated. They have to tell to the patient how to store insulin. If they have a fridge, in fridge where to store insulin. If they does not have a fridge, good number of people comes, they does not have refrigerator in their home. So without refrigerator, if they have to use insulin, how to store. Glucometers, how to clean your finger, what to be used. Sometimes after taking sweets, patient does not wipe their fingers, and after they check the glucometer, it will give spurious results. Patient taking some drugs where glucometers are going to interfere. So all those things, small practical aspects, knowledge and all these information we have tried to address in our publication. Coming to next case, this is again a 50-year-old male diagnosed with diabetes 6 years back. Concerned about his uncontrolled blood glucose. Again, patient is obese. HbA1c is 8.6. Now see here, fasting plasma glucose is 116, which is quite pretty well controlled. While postprandial glucose is still high. Metformin 500 glimepiride 1 mg BD. Empagliflozin started on insulin glargine 1 year back. Patient is presently on 18 units and consulted with a doctor and tried to now control these sugars. So this is another case. If you see, fasting glucose is in range, but TP is high, what we have listened in first lecture, and patient has already achieved a dosage. Now remember, whenever you have used more than 0.5 unit per kg body weight of glargine or any basal insulin, it is a time that we have to change from basal to either basal plus, either to co-formulation, basal prandial, whatever. Basal alone is not going to serve the purpose. It may put the patient to the risk of hypoglycemia because fasting is pretty well controlled, but HbA1c is not coming into the target. And for that, I hope some of you are remembering the article published by Monier et al. As we come close to 7%, the prandial contribution to HbA1c is a predominant component. So if patient fasting is well controlled and still HbA1c is not into the target, it's time we should focus on prandial component. Now how to intensify in such type of patient? Again, in our publication we have shown that if patient is on basal insulin, as I have discussed, there are number of ways by which you can intensify the insulin therapy, and the different insulin therapies have different half-lives, different peaks and different durations. Now this is for a doctor to understand, because we are going to intensify the patient with different types of insulin. Now coming to patient selection for basal plus approach, I have again in that paper we have shown that it all depends on what is the patient glucose profile at different aspects. Depending on that, depending on HbA1c, number of other drugs the patient is receiving, we can choose one of the different regimes where we can intensify from basal to either basal plus or basal bolus or premix or co-formulations. Now, when to stop basal insulin? I already told you, when HbA1c is still not at goal with 0.5 unit, it is elevated with normal fasting plasma, but PP is still high. When patient is developing hypoglycemia, when you are trying to increase the dose of basal insulin. Case 3, if you see diabetes of long duration, started insulin 2 years back, and family history of CVD and type 2 diabetes. Patient is on all type of oral drugs, as has been mentioned, metformin 1000 mg, dapagliflozin, linagliptin, gliclazide modified release, atorvastatin, glargine 32 units, HbA1c is 9.1, both fasting and postprandial are pretty high. And the difference between fasting and postprandial is also very high. What action is required? What is the approach? Ideal case to either shift either to basal bolus approach or co-formulation approach or premix approach. It all depends on your level of confidence. It is not that one regime is always superior to other regime. There is another way where we can intensify, and now guidelines are currently recommending that with basal insulin we can add, if patient is tolerating, GLP-1RA. Basal insulin and GLP-1RA in the studies have shown that in a given patient it will provide control equivalent to basal bolus insulin therapy. Another advantage of using GLP-1RA in such type of patient is that patient has strong family history of CVD and a long duration of diabetes. GLP-1RA has shown to have cardioprotective and renal benefits, but unfortunately insulin has not shown such type of benefits. So therefore, another way of approach to intensify from basal insulin therapy is to start basal insulin and to give one shot of GLP-1RA. We have now co-formulations available of combination of basal and GLP-1RA also, where only a single injection will serve the purpose of controlling both fasting and postprandial plasma glucose levels. This is ADA algorithm approach, where I have shown you again in this approach they have also recommended adding GLP-1RA. Unfortunately, because of the cost and again so many reasons, GLP-1RA is one class of agent which are highly underutilized in our country. So friends, we are today having a workshop on basal insulin therapy, but basal insulin therapy alone will not serve the purpose in every patient, so it has to be individualized. From basal, we can go to either intensify basal insulin, or we can go to basal plus, or we can go to basal bolus insulin therapy, or we can go to co-formulation and premix insulin therapy. Last case, 57-year-old, type 2 diabetes, 7 years, again on all the oral drugs and glargine, HbA1c is not at target, and after detailed instruction, patient gives a history that he is injecting insulin to one specific site, that is right thigh. And patient has developed lipohypertrophy, which is going to be discussed in one of the lectures. So all these things needs to be examined and see why patient is not responding to the insulin therapy. I have told you about our own publication where we have clearly given messages to the physician community. Store insulin, whether it is glargine or whatever insulin, between 2 to 8 degrees centigrade. Do not freeze it. If you are freezing insulin, it is going to be deactivated. Discard any insulin which has been freezed and protect insulin from heat and light. Also, once you have started using insulin, you can keep insulin at room temperature, provided the temperature of ambient temperature is less than 30 degrees. Insulin remains potent. There are a number of studies where it has been shown and done. There is no need to keep insulin back into the fridge once insulin is in use. The reason is majority of insulin has a shelf life of only 1 month. And whatever dosage we are using, most of the time it is utilized 9 within 1 month. Apart from that, there are other things which I am not going to discuss. How to rotate the site, Samir is going to discuss, so as to avoid lipohypertrophy. So friends, to conclude with, initiation of insulin is important. Basal insulin therapy initiation is one way to initiate insulin therapy, but this is not the only way to initiate insulin therapy. We can initiate giving, depending on a patient profile, with a co-formulation, with a premix, with basal bolus, depending on patient glucose profile. But as we were discussing in previous, Dr. Ganguly, it is convenient to the physicians, those who have no limited experience of how to initiate insulin therapy. Basal insulin, they find it to be convenient, so it can be initiated, at least something is given. But never satisfied with that something, that is a crux. We have to titrate, we have to intensify, we have to bring patients' glucose level into the goal. We have to bring HbA1c into the goal depending on patient overall profile. It is not the case that today you have started with 12 units and patient will continue to take 12 units for life. No, this is not the case. We have to up-titrate, intensify and educate the patient about all these things. Only then we can achieve successful insulinization and we can achieve the goals of bringing HbA1c into the target, and we can prevent long-term development of micro and macrovascular complication, and at the same time prevent hypoglycemia. Lastly, before I end, because there are many times when we discuss hypoglycemia and we are very much feared by the risk of hypoglycemia. But I will tell you a simple message. If there would have been no hypoglycemia in diabetes, you know, all of us will not be here. Diabetes would have been easiest disease to treat on the earth. Patient will take drug from pharmacy, will keep on increasing the dosage, depending on the need, glucose will come into the control. So it's an art, it's our duty to learn this art, so that patient can achieve euglycemia and will not suffer from hypoglycemia, which Deepak is going to discuss with you. So that art is going to be learned by us with practice, with initiation, rather than developing barriers where we are not initiating, we are not intensifying, we are not up-titrating the insulin therapy. Thank you very much.
BMI high with all the possible combination of OHA initiating insulin. Would you like to discontinue for the time being all AHO and go ahead with insulin? What will be the effect on blood glucose if you totally stop for a period at least all OHAs? And my question is not complete. Or another thing is this: the patient is obese. In that time, every visit you say, decrease your weight, decrease your weight. If the lady is decreasing the weight, what will the effect on number of units of insulin after the weight is decreased? How do you manipulate that?
Sir, मैं कुछ भूल जाऊँ तो बता देना, लंबा क्वेश्चन. Remember, 90% of type 2 diabetic individuals are either overweight or obese. So if you take away this message that with obesity insulin has not to be initiated, this is totally not correct. With obesity, there is increased insulin resistance. Therefore, the dosage of insulin needed will be higher as compared to a non-obese individual who is needing insulin therapy. Right? Number 2, whenever we ask the patient weight kam karo, बहुत अच्छी बात है, बोलना भी चाहिए. But then we have to have a checklist of the drugs which we are using. I will give you an example. If nowadays we screen the prescriptions of anti-diabetic medication which is written by our colleagues, pregabalin is one of the very common prescription which is added in combination with vitamin B12 in number of permutation and combination. And I do not know whether you know it or not, with pregabalin there is a weight gain to the tune of 6 to 12 kgs. Now you are utilizing drug and most of the time patient comes with a history कि डॉक्टर साहब पैरों में सूनापन मालूम होता है और हम सूनापन मालूम होता है और हम लिख देते हैं pregabalin. Pregabalin has no role in such type of patients. Pregabalin is only useful when patient has burning, shooting type of pains. If patient feet are already insensate, pregabalin is not going to do anything. Patient is going to put up weight. We use sulfonylurea. Sulfonylurea also causes weight gain. We have never asked about whether to use sulfonylurea in obese patient or not. So that is why I am saying, if there is a weight gain issue, now we have drugs like GLP-1 we have SGLT2 inhibitors, and if patient can afford, we can take care of all these things. But insulin initiation, if it actually needed, should not be delayed simply because patient is obese. Number two, यदि patient weight कम करता है, आपने पूछा था, second question ये था ना. So yesterday I have discussed about the concept of diabetes remission. Any patient who loses at least 10% of his body weight, and losing is not important, then he will maintain that lost weight. There is going to be a dramatic decline in dosage of the drugs, including insulin dosage. How much is going to be reduced? There is no simple mathematical formula for that. But remember, if patient HbA1c is less than 8.5%, when you are initiating or up-titrating insulin therapy, you have to actually reduce the dosage of other secretagogues. What are other secretagogues? Sulfonylurea, by at least 50%. And when patient is losing weight, again you have to advise the patient to do very careful regular blood sugar monitoring, and if glucose levels are going less than 70 milligram per deciliter, it is time that the next insulin has to be injected by reducing by 4 units. So these are some of the rough practical guidelines which we follow in routine clinical practice.
Thank you. No more questions, please. Sorry, Rajesh. I had a few questions regarding GL. अभी नहीं पूछूंगा, देर हो गई है. अच्छा, we'll now move on to the next topic, which is